right, we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to thank everyone for coming to the banner Birds of a Feather. So we have Dianne Sisler, who is our banner team lead, and then J.R. Farley, who is our database administrator, team lead at West Virginia Net. Angelic Cumming is the registrar for Blue Ridge. And then we have James Faber, who is the Chief Student Systems Officer and Institutional Research from Bridge Valley. That's a long title. I had to write it down.
It's too long.
All right, everybody, welcome, and thank you for coming to the Banner Birds of a Feather. All right, and then we'll go ahead and see if Dianne wants to go ahead and get started. And I'm going to just remember that this meeting will be recorded. And so if you would like to view it later, we will have access to the links later for your viewing pleasure. And I'm going to go ahead and shut my video down so that we can save a little extra bandwidth. And if you have any questions, just let me know.
All right.
I'm going to close mine takes up a lot of data here.
In Preston County, you have to save bandwidth where you can.
Yes, you always tell me I'm dialing in from 1998. That's all right. Starlink is coming, I hear. I don't have any overwhelming topics right now. I don't have any releases for financial aid at the moment. I think the one we just got is about on everybody's database. Maybe JR can address that.
Sure, I can talk a little bit about that. I figure I'll talk a little bit about banner upgrades in general, but we can start with some financial aid discussions. And actually that ties into one of the issues that I kind of wanted to talk about this session. Ellucian used to be very good about releasing a financial aid upgrade that didn't need you to upgrade anything else. It's just like, here's our new financial aid stuff. It's got the new rules for all of your awards, loans, grants, and you don't need to upgrade anything else. But the last couple of them have required immediate general upgrades. And just speaking from a technical perspective, general upgrades are the ones that tend to screw things up. And so those are the ones that we have to test very carefully because we have customizations to job submission programs. And so we have to make sure that if they deliver a new shell file for the job submission, that we integrate those changes. It's kind of frustrating to see them going back on that and basically saying, all right, if you want to be able to issue loans next week, you also have to upgrade your general. And if you upgrade your general, that means you have to upgrade this other thing to be compatible with it. So it just ends up a small chain of little upgrades. So I think with this upgrade cycle, we're getting everybody to 8.40 as a minimum, but 8.40.1 is based on request. So we have some schools that have requested it and some that haven't expressed an interest yet, but we can take care of everybody. We've worked out the kinks, so we should be able to apply that where necessary. And I believe, James, you were the first school to request it, so you got to be the guinea pig.
Hey, my people were on top of that, so yeah, no problem.
And that's it's always nice to have people actually test. And yes. If there's anything I can say to the people who are watching this now or who watch the recording is please always test, because if we set it out there and test and you guys just go, yeah, it looks fine, and then we roll it out in production and there's a problem, we're going to fix it as fast as possible, but there won't be a problem if we identify it and test and get it fixed before we roll it out. So everybody's going to be at 8.40 after this cycle, and several schools are going to have the 8.40.1.
Yes, it does look like we've got some coming out this week. A couple of packs. Is that?
Who needs Fizz app?
I mean, I'm
As long as
very.
we have money to continue.
I was going to say I'm very glad that they stay on top of the bugs and everything, but it can be just like a treadmill with the financial aid upgrades. We just applied some last week, and now they've got a whole bunch of new ones. So yeah, very frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, for a while they were really careful when they release. There was not that much patching needed, but now it seems like every time they put out a release and do it.
And I think that's, I mean, software development in general, you have deadlines, and some deadlines are softer than others, but there's this pressure to meet the deadline even if it doesn't work. And I think that's a bad tendency in software development. And I think with Ellucian and financial aid upgrades in particular, you've got federal deadlines. Like, this is when the rules change. You have to get something out, whether it works or not. And of course, the answer to that is put more people on it to make sure it works by that date. But you don't always have that kind of foresight and planning, unfortunately. Um, you see the same thing in game development, though. You'll have companies that have decided we're going to release our new game on June 1st, and we have 5 months of work left to do in 1 month. So we're going to put everybody working double shifts and then do a day one patch.
Well, the problem with federal department contractors is that sometimes they put out specs and then change those after the fact and forget about the people downstream. And that hit us in the past couple of weeks as we find out that one of the files that we're getting from COD is not working in Banner because they've added things to it that, or actually they took things out of it that Banner needs in order to find the student and the loan.
Yeah.
So the cure for that is not an easy one, other than going back to the department and saying, fix this.
Yeah, when you have so many layers, so many levels to it, if somebody takes a step that the others didn't anticipate, it can be difficult.
How are the rest of the upgrades going?
So far, so good. I'm pleased that they seem to be finally cleaning up some of the things with self-service configuration. With some of the last two, I think this one and the previous upgrade cycle we did increased a lot of options for like configuring self-service. I know that some of our schools have been playing with changes, trying them out, and it's good to experiment. But one of the things that we had to do was change. There's an interval setting in the self-service apps that basically tell them, hey, now that your configuration's in the database, this is how often you should check the database. And it was set to 24 hours. So if you'd push a change, it's like, where's the change? And again, James, I think you were one of the schools that ran into this issue.
Yes.
And so it's just like that. I understand if there was a database load problem that you wouldn't want to maybe poll it every minute, but it doesn't seem to be that intensive a read. So we basically set everybody to 5 minutes and have complaints that gets good turnover, so you can actually see the changes. And I think overall pushing the configs to the database is much better. I'm very happy they're going in that direction. Because just to give people an idea, the process that we go through to configure the self-service apps, if we had to do it the way that the documentation says to do it, we wouldn't be able to get these upgrades done for this number of schools. Just to give you guys a brief idea, one of our developers wrote a Python program that will take the WAR file, we'll run the Python program against it, and we can tell it to run it for a particular school, or we can tell it to run for all schools, and it will create a version of that WAR file for each of our hosted schools, inserting the appropriate configuration data. And the less fiddly bits that we have to worry about in those files, the easier that process gets. So yeah, pushing the links for self-service into the database, I think, is fantastic. So we don't have to constantly hand edit those files, and it just makes the process a lot simpler. Though I do understand that with recent changes, recent upgrades, they've gotten better about self-service war files deploying directly from ESM. We haven't tried to do that yet. In the early days, you couldn't do it. There were just ESM did not have the tools to configure those files properly. But I know a lot of schools are doing it that way, and I'll probably look into that when I have some free time. But yeah, the Python script works pretty well.
Will join us. We have today.
Well, there are a lot of sessions going on. They might be watching other stuff. I'm happy to keep it kind of general. If anybody
Yes.
does have questions, of course, they can submit them in the chat.
Speaking of the new, what's new for general just came through a little while ago, and it had a lot of defects.
Yeah, I haven't seen too many people complaining. I think I saw one person mention that they might be having an issue clicking to go into TSA AREV, but I believe Gus's theory was that we maybe just needed to do a server cache clear for Glenville and see if that cleared it up. But I don't think Chuck's gotten back to us yet as to whether or not that cleared it up. Nobody else has reported any issues with the new upgrades. Is that defects for 8.13, 8.13.1?
Uh-oh.
Somebody's popular.
Trying to find keep from it. Hold on.
Yeah.
Uh, 9.3.18 is one of them.
Okay, so that's the version 9 version.
Yes. Yes, a lot of 9s.
Well, we should be upgrading everybody to 9.3.19 at a minimum. So if they're 9.3.18 defects, as long as they've fixed them, we should be okay.
Yes. There's an 18. This one says 9.3.25.
For general or financial aid?
No, it says general.
General 9.3.25, I don't think is out.
Didn't think so either. Admin common.
Oh, admin common. Okay. Yes, that would be. Let me double check. Admin common 9.3.25 is the, I think, most current release, so that would make sense. If they've identified defects, we might have to apply some kind of patch if they come up with something. If you could send me that, Diane, that would be great. Just yeah, just in case if we get tickets, that way we can let people know what's going on.
Right.
I don't want to necessarily monopolize all the talking time. James, you want to talk about any of your current experience using Banner at your school? Any gotchas, problems?
Well, right now, we just brought up. I think we started. The kickoff call was in November, and we went live in production February 1st. The document management system.
Mm-hmm.
According to Ellucian, that was a very quick turnaround from initial kickoff phone call to production. But I actually have 3 or 4 of my areas up and running, and it's running sweet right now. I mean, admissions has probably got pushing 800 to 900 documents in there, and we actually did not backfill. We actually started with the new aid year and the new admissions year. So we're looking at 21, 22. Now, the registrar's office will be going back in and backfilling all of the historical data, but they're using it too for their applications for graduation packets and stuff. So it's been pretty sweet. It was fun. I mean, JR, you were right in there in the middle on the installs and stuff. I mean, it was sweet to bring that up and get that up and going. So.
Well, I have to say it's a lot smoother. What we did with you guys is a lot smoother than what we went through at Fairmont when I was at Fairmont. We had some help from a third-party contractor. The guy doing it had technical skills, but he seemed kind of fuzzy on the actual BDMS, and like he wasn't an Oracle guy; he was a SQL Server guy. So anything on the database side, he was kind of all thumbs, and just yeah, getting that set up the first time was a challenge. But I think the product's become better over the years and more streamlined, so it's a little easier to get things done. The move to a web-based client for Banner document management is a big help because, yeah, the desktop not great.
And plus, too, now it has 2 other products with it too. It's the search part of it that you could actually, and I'm not turning this on yet because I'm scared, but you could actually put in a word and it will search all the documents, just not the document title, but actually go into the documents and search for this particular word that you're looking for. So that scares me on giving access to that. And then is the retention side of the house, where now we have to start setting up our rules to go in and look at, like admissions. They generally wait 1 year. If they did not come to school, they shred the document. So we got to set up those rules. Then the financial aid, I believe, is 3 to 5 years. I forget exactly what it is, but we have to work with them after setting up the rules that once the students are no longer Bridge Valley students, that they're removed. But like I said, where financial aid is only going live with the new aid year, it's we're 3 to 5 years down the road on doing that, and admissions is a year down the road on doing that. So,
yeah.
But yeah, we'll have to clean up all that data. So, we'll just treat it as if we're shredding. And the registrar's office actually has found out by starting to look at the cleanup, 50% of the printed documents he has in the folders, in the files, they don't need. So they're going to be shredding. They're only going to bring 50% of what's in the folders in right now. And he's actually sat down and decided, okay, this is the order that I want these documents to appear in. So he'll just take a folder in, scan it in, and that will be one batch. Boom. And I do know that financial aid is using the batch import process. So, they get a bunch of documents, they scan them in, and they go through, and then they do the matching to the proper users. I mean, Bonnie's got that down perfect in financial aid, and then they're utilizing that part of it. I mean, all in all, I like the system. And then the fact that we're also have got 5X environment of DegreeWorks up and running. I mean, we actually have the single sign-on working. So that's working sweet. I've got a group of faculty and staff advisors who are using the new responsive dashboard. We're planning on going live this fall for both all advisors and all students. Same thing, I'm looking at rolling out SSB 9 to all students and faculty this year. So I've got groups looking at that. It's been a busy summer, but it's been fun.
Yeah, it has been busy. Of course, what I'm hearing is that if anybody needs some surplus filing cabinets, Bridge Valley is going to be getting rid of a few.
And these are just not filing cabinets. These are the concrete fireproof ones. So yeah,
Oh boy.
Oh yes, the ones that a couple 200-300 pounds to move around. Yeah, he's got 15, 20 of them in one room. So I mean, and plus the boxes that they didn't buy him cabinets for, just plain boxes full of stuff in there.
Right.
So yeah, we'll be surplusing some stuff over the next year in that area.
You mentioned degree works and the single sign-on. Is that in production for you guys? Or is it just?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
it's production. It's
Okay.
yes, we give them the direct link, and they go in. Now we're still working on getting it tweaked to work inside of the student profile. Now, of course, it worked in tests just fine, but of course, when you go to production, we run into errors. I mean, that's sometimes to be expected, but I can still get them they can get into it by the links either we put inside of the new landing page, or we actually put it out on a new portal that we're looking at. But no, they are using the single sign-on right now, the ones that are using it.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, as I get faculty email me, I forgot my password to Classic.
Just move them over.
I just sit here, take this link, go. Or I tell IT, here, give them access to this. I don't care. I'm ready to go. I mean, I'm about to the point right now. I'm about ready, and maybe by the end of the week, I actually put the new responsive dashboard link into SSB8 and just let them then and tell them use your email address and your password to get in. Faculty, staff, here, use that. I mean.
And yeah, that's a great way to do it. That gets them used to using the one password for everything, and then we can work out the kinks and get true single sign-on going.
Right.
And yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what we would reason. The debating it right now because we're looking at trying to roll out a new student portal this fall and just have everything there. So we kind of do we want to do it now? Do we want to wait and hit them with everything new? So I'm still kicking that around, working with Adam on debating on that one right now. So actually we were talking about that at 8:00 this morning before everything started. But
now, are you guys rolling your own portal or looking at third parties?
we're looking at right now. Our webpage developer is trying to develop as a portal, but I've kind of looked at the Ellucian experience side of the house. So I'm, that's a little bit more expensive, but we'll see how this portal does on them developing. If we run into any problems, then I may be saying, okay, no, I'm gonna go with experience. Give me the money, and spring we'll go with experience. So it's still up in the air right now.
Yeah, if you guys decide to look into Ellucian Experience, let us know. I'm kind of curious based on what we heard from those sessions that Ellucians did, but I get the feeling that it could be very expensive relative to what you get. So yeah, let me know what you guys decide in terms of the cost benefit on the experience.
Whenever they said it was a free option, I asked, give me the cost, it was free, but $21,000, I think, for installation and training for that free version. So or something like that. It was ridiculous, but what I have seen, I like the experience. I think it could tie into what we were wanting to do. It's going to be a cost factor, but again, we're hoping this portal that from our web developer, the ones that are doing our web page, can make it work. If not, then I'm ready for a fallback. It means pushing it back a semester, but if that's what I got to do, that's what we'll do.
Yeah, I'm always curious to see what people are doing for portals because we've got some people who've made their own. We've got some people who are using third parties. And yeah, I just try to stay up on that just to have an idea of what works for folks.
Yeah, like I said, our the PR firm that we have is developing a new web page for us, and then they just put out the test version of it last week, and then the next project is for them then to start working on a portal. So
nice.
I know Adam is working with them on it, so as long as Adam's involved, I'm okay. I mean, but I do have a contingency plan if I have to.
Yeah. And the Ellucian Experience, you said that it was a one-time fee, basically. It's a big fee, but a one-time fee.
It was a big. Well, there's a yearly fee, but there's one big. Hold on. Let's see. Yes, let's see here. They had three tiers: foundation, professional, and premium. First year annual subscription fee for free was $14,000 for them to include single sign-on and training. The professional is $6,300 a year with $21,000 for training, SOS, and toolkit, and then premium is $15,600 at $21,000 service one-time service fee.
Okay, so the foundation level doesn't have a yearly fee; it just has the setup fee.
It just has a setup fee, but foundation
Okay.
really has nothing in it that's probably useful.
Yeah.
Uh,
Interesting.
yeah. Tell you what, JR, I'll go ahead and forward this to you so
Sure.
you can see what's in it.
I expect that we'll have at least one or two schools that look really hard at that foundation stuff, or at the experience stuff, just because they may want a portal, and that might be kind of just low hanging fruit if they have the money and don't have the manpower. Um,
Well, for me, $14,000 for something free isn't free. I mean,
right. Oh yeah, yeah.
that was my whole deal. If I'm going to do that, let me sweet talk Kathy out of another $6,300 a year and another $7,000 and go that route. But
Yeah.
we were looking at it to compare what it would do compared to the portal that we were looking at doing. But like I said, I'm not going to the $14,000 down a hole that we were not going to go down. So
Right. Yeah, it's still good to be aware of their options, and they may tinker with the price if they don't have too many people jumping on it.
right, what I saw at Ellucian Live, it's a sweet looking product. I mean,
Yeah. Hmm. Now, Dianne, you might be more aware of this than I am. Have you or anybody on your team heard anything more about the separate student application product that they're supposedly going to be doing for Self-Service 9? Is that
I have
still
not.
I think the last I heard was third quarter of this year for a delivery, but I just wondered if there'd been any other news that I sometimes can't keep up with all the stuff coming out of Ellucian.
You're not alone. I haven't seen anything. Third quarter.
I think that's what they said the last time they gave a presentation on it, that their roadmap had like third quarter of this year for the initial release of the self-service student application web app.
We have releases coming out in October.
Okay.
I would expect they'll probably include it with some of that, but I can double check that.
That would be a good guess.
I hope, because my fear was that they were going to make us buy the recruiting part to get the application part, and I'm like, man, 90% of my applications come through that now. I mean, yeah.
I think that the banner customer base would be furious if they suddenly had to pay more for such a basic function that they've always had bundled in. Now, would Ellucian do it anyway? Maybe. that was that was a concern of mine when they confirmed that it was going to be a separate product. Yeah, sometimes they're pretty good about, this is a separate product, but it's included with your banner general license. Sometimes I'm surprised that, oh, this is included. That's great. But yeah, it's hard to tell with Ellucian which way they're going to go.
And for some of us who's been around for as long as I have, we've seen them do this kind of stuff before. I mean,
Yeah.
it's.
I was going to also ask you, you're one of our few schools using banner advancement with the sort of D-support coming for that. Are you guys going to just, were you the one that said you were looking at other products? I remember somebody was looking at other products.
Well, they're kind of looking at it, but I'm kind of telling them if I own it, we're going to need to start using it. The problem was that right before we shut down last April, March, I actually was starting, and we actually finally got somebody in that area that could start working on it 100% of the time. So we're not going to use every functionality of it, but we're going to use it for the basics of it. So I actually reached out to them last week because she sent me an email. We need to get a database for this stuff. I'm like, we got one, dear. Just we got to start using
it. Surprise! We already have one.
We already have one. I mean, again, I've tinkered around with it several times over the years since we were Bridgemont. It's just not having anybody on the other side of the house who could dedicate their time to it. That's been the issue.
Yeah, you can install the product, you can make it available, but honestly, you can't use it for them, and that's some of the problems that I've run into. I get questions all the time from people at various schools about self-service, especially self-service 8. And I did that at Fairmont enough to know how to give them some advice, but I can't go in there and edit your links for you because I just don't have the time.
Right.
Yeah, so it's, but I was going to say, they did release Advancement 8.15 and 9.39, and that was in this last batch that's going in later this month to your production. So they still have some improvements going. I thought I'd remembered that there was one, but yeah.
I know. I think Southern was looking at possibly another program or staying with this. Yes.
Yeah, I think you and Tom Cook are the two that talk about it the most. I think we have a couple other schools. And see, the thing is, I think everybody kind of abandoned it at once. So when I look at a school and I see advancements installed, it's usually like 8.0.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh boy. I think we have one school that has it at like 7.4, and I'm just like, please don't ask us to upgrade that. I really would hate to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things. Whenever I took over at Bridgemont, I was like, if we own it, I want it installed. So if in case I do use it, I mean, I try to keep that one up, even though it's sitting there idle. I mean, the plan has always been to use it. Like I said, they've never put anybody on that other side of the house to work with me, but we have somebody now. So.
Yeah, and if you can work some of your alumni to get a little bit of contribution going to the school, maybe you get enough to pay for the software and a little besides.
Yeah.
So.
Well, absolutely. I won't see it. I'll pay for the use of the product, but that I won't get any money out of it. But that's fine. That's what we're here for. I mean, I'm not here to. I don't charge them. You know, we don't charge our users. We should. But,
that's right.
But nah, just joking.
That's right. Yeah, the advancement stuff is interesting, and of course it reminded me, and I'll just talk about this for a little bit in case it's of interest to other folks. But we recently had to do an upgrade, and I've actually talked to you about this, James. Boyd at WVIT. I discovered only last year, really, because we essentially had them at Banner 8. We had never done Banner 9, and they just kind of worked. And it's an archival database because their main database is with WVU. And they just run transcripts out of this. We get no tickets. We get almost nothing. There's no problems. It just runs. And then I think something came up, and I was like, oh, crap. They're running on Banner 8. We've got Banner 9, like a hard cutoff in June. We need to talk to them. And basically, we gave them the options of upgrading, dumping their data into WVU, a couple other things. And they were like, go ahead and upgrade us. And so that was some interesting Banner archaeology because they were on actually, low versions of Banner 8. And I had to go through what amounted to 10 years of Banner upgrades.
Yes, JR. Actually, I have the old Wivet license. That was part of the agreement when we become Bridgemont because they were merging into the WVU database. I took over Bridgemont took over the Wivet banner system and licenses. Okay. And we didn't have to buy new because we were grandfathered in because we were part of that system to begin with.
Nice.
So June 30th, 2009, Denise did a copy, renamed everything Mont, I think, at the time, and then we went forward with that. So, yes, I hold that license.
Yeah, Montprod, I think.
Montprod, yes.
I still see there are a few files, config files I've seen that have references to it.
Yes.
But yeah, so that was an interesting process, just getting those older banner upgrades in the right order. That's the kind of stuff.
I can imagine.
The kind of stuff that Gus and I have had to do for advancement in some cases, but much more extreme in this case.
Yes.
Oh, hey! I see we have Angelica Cummings.
I see a stranger. Long time no see.
Yeah, I finally got it working, so.
Excellent. You can break up some of this tech talk with some banner functional stuff.
I don't know. I was kind of interested in the tech talk.
Well, maybe if you have questions, I mean, because basically I'm just kind of going stream of consciousness here. If you have specific questions that you want to ask us, I'm happy to do that too. So you're the registrar at your school.
Yes, correct.
So I guess you want to talk about a little bit about the way that you guys maybe test new banner upgrades, or if you want to talk about your processes, anything new and interesting that you're doing, tips for other folks.
I honestly not really sure. So, I mean, as far as testing, I feel like we do it the same as most other institutions. We see the upgrades and we test what's, the patches are going to house and make sure that they're working correctly. And experimental first and then roll over to prod and test them that way. It's been an interesting couple months, obviously, with, the pandemic and everything else. And then on top of that, we got a new programmer. So getting her up to speed on banner and how we do things here has been, fun, since our other programmer was, quite fluid with everything. I've reached out to James quite a few times. But other than that, I mean, it's just, we're still struggling with getting up running on Self-Service 9, mostly due to the single sign-on integration with DegreeWorks. So we're kind of pocketing that again, hopefully in September, before our students register for the spring semester. We'll have Self-Service 9 and the new version of DegreeWorks up and running with single sign-on to kind of ease that pain a little bit. We are on faculty Self-Service 9 already, but we're just kind of waiting on that single sign-on, which is what's held us back with the student version of self-service.
Yeah. I like James's approach that he's taken with the DegreeWorks, where you change the link to put it to the responsive dashboard, and that way, if it's not true single sign-on, at least it's single log-on, in the sense that you're using one set of credentials.
Right.
And it's a good stepping stone, but that is the tricky part. It seems like with the DegreeWorks is that single sign-on component. I know a lot of schools have had issues.
Yeah, Angie, what we're looking at doing is trying to bring up a portal for our students. So that's where I'm going to put the responsive dashboard. That's where I'm going to put SSB 9, all this, and Blackboard. That's where it's going to go with single sign-on. We do have single sign-on working on all those right now. It's just housing them in one place.
Yeah.
So it's a true single sign-on environment. Like I said, I've got faculty and staff, some staff and some faculty who actually have the responsive production right now and are using it. And then as they run into issues with the classic version because they forget their password, I'm just telling IT or I just say, here's the new responsive, use it. It's your email address and password. Just go for it. So it works. It does work. It's just for us, we're holding off till we get that platform in place.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing I will mention with regard to self-service is I'm sure that you both are aware of this, but for the benefit of folks who may listen to this later, one of the issues that we've seen with a lot of folks is that self-service 9 and self-service 8 are completely different in the way you structure like your links and your menus. It has been a big jump for people because in self-service 8, everything's in a single product. You go in, you have whatever roles you have, and that shows you whatever menus you have. And in 9, they're kind of siloed. And it's like, if I want to log in as a person who's both a student and a faculty member, I got to go 2 different places because I'm not seeing links to my student stuff and faculty, and I'm not seeing links to my faculty stuff and student. So that's, I think there's not really going to be any good ways around that. You could do a portal that has like deep links to specific things that kind of provide things in a one-shot. Here's everything that you might commonly access. Or you just kind of train the users to, like, if you're logging as a faculty member, you go here. If you're logging as a student, you go here. And I know several of our schools have been like, does it really work this way? Is there no way to do a unified menu? And I keep looking, I'm like, I don't see that Ellucian has provided like a unified menu. And I think they missed an opportunity there.
Yeah, I think maybe one other thing hard for us to figure out is, since there is no web tailor, there's a lot of stuff that as a functional user, I don't have access to, that I now have to ask IT for, like simply updating verbiage on the student side or the faculty side. It's like, I can't easily go in and be like, oh, let me change this due date, or let me change when, bills are due, so students have another way to know. So that stuff is now a little more, I guess, a little harder. So it's done in IT and not on the functional side as much like it was in WebTailor.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is in the GUAConf or Guru config table now. And I think the lookout there is, I don't think you can give access to someone to change some values in the GUAConf. I think you have to give them all or nothing. So essentially, if you wanted to give a functional user WebTailor like access, you basically have to give them the keys of the kingdom to all that config stuff.
I don't want that responsibility.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
I'm going to tell Mike you want all that responsibility.
No.
Well, what I hate about it, trying to set up the links, you go in and look at it, it's just one straight line across. It's a pain in the butt. So I've got it in a notepad. I make my change in notepad, copy and paste it in, then go look and see if it works. I mean, it's I hate it. It's not friendly. I like the old WebTailor, but yeah.
I think if they're smart, and maybe people could put in some suggestions to Ellucian to push them in this direction, I would love to see them put another interface to that table, like in Banner General SSB 9, where you have something that's a little more user-friendly for editing links that accesses that table. That would be a great suggestion to kind of pepper Ellucian with and say, hey, this is a terrible way for us to have to edit links. Can you do something? That would be, I think, their best, least effort option. Because they do that with other products. None of you guys are too deep into like the Banner. Actually, no. Blue Ridge is one of our Banner event schools. So the Banner events architecture is very interesting, and Banner events publisher is terrible. Like the interface to set up events and enable them and disable them, it is terrible. But they made Ellucian Ethos Access Management Center. It's like EEAMC. That's a terrible acronym. And it basically takes that same functionality, the stuff that you can do, and puts it in an actually user-friendly fashion. So it's like, oh, never log into BEP. You don't want to edit anything there. You log into this other thing, and everything is just so much more easy. So yeah, there's precedent for them doing that sort of thing, and if they hear from enough users, hey, we need a better way to access this configuration stuff, that might get them moving on that. Because honestly, I don't know what Banner General SSB 9 does right now. I don't know what functionality it contains. I know it doesn't start if someone puts in the Guru config a string value that's formatted like a mat value, or they put it as a mat value and it's formatted like a string. We've had that. But, yeah.
Yeah, JR, we're actually do put advanced in Banner, but it's actually put in on the location management form inside of Banner.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I've looked at that other part. Yeah, I'm like, no, not right now. Yeah.
I hate
So,
to
yeah.
interrupt, but this is the 5-minute call before the end of the session. So if anybody has
Sure.
any questions, please make sure you get them in now.
Okay. Banner oddly has 2 event subsystems, and the new one, the Ethos one, is the one they seem to be going with. But they have just the normal event system, which is how we actually feed people's Blackboard events. And yeah, it's weird to think of them having essentially 2 sets of triggers feeding 2 sets of tables. Like, these are the events, but yeah. The new approach seems to be a little more robust, lets them do more stuff with it. Speaking of Blackboard, I think Bridge Valley, you're going to software as a service, and Blue Ridge, are you also going to software as a service with Blackboard?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe Blue Ridge already went live.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did for summer.
Yeah, and I believe we go live. We do the cutoff the week of the 16th of August.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's. I have to say that my only involvement with Blackboard tends to be when there's a problem and events get stuck. I haven't kept up on who's staying and who's going. I'm interested to see our new desire to learn substitute for the folks who don't want to do Blackboard software as a service. I have heard mixed things about the SaaS model. They are sometimes less responsive than would be ideal, but we really couldn't continue to host because they just don't support the host yourself model anymore.
yeah.
So.
Well, we decided we're staying with the classic view of it. We're not switching to the new view because it's already faculty are already freaking out that we're switching platforms and password, single sign on. I mean, we're trying to tell them nothing changes. It will look the same when you leave on the 16th. When you come back on the 23rd, it will look exactly the same. It just will be pointing different places. But then it doesn't help our black person retired July 1. So yeah.
I was going to say, that sounds so familiar. When I was at Fairmont, we talked so many times about trying like Moodle or any other online learning platform, but every time we were like, hey, let's put something out there, let's have people start testing it, the deans of the various schools are like, no, we can't change, we have to keep using this, we can't change. And it's just that fear of change, I think, that locks people into things that maybe aren't optimal anymore. It's one of the biggest things that we have to overcome, I think, as IT folks, is getting people to be willing to change from how they've done things. I dread when Banner 10 gets announced.
That's a bad word.
Yeah.
That's a good note to leave this on, huh?
Oh, I think we've got years yet.
But
they haven't even finished implementing Banner 9, truly, so they can't start working on Banner 10 yet.
I remember 7 to 8 was bad. 8 to 9 wasn't too bad, but that 7 to 8 jump I remember was real bad.
Yeah. The database character set conversion. I think at Fairmont, we actually tried to do that one weekend. The upgrade failed. We rolled it back and then tried the next weekend and got it through. But it was 2 full weekends. All right. Well, I think that's our time. I'm glad, Angelica, that you were able to join us there. I hope this is of use to some folks. James and Dianne, thank you for not having this be me talking for an hour.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun.
Yeah. All right.
I can't wait till we get back together all live so Angie and me can sit down and start hashing out what Blue Ridge does, what I do, so that we can figure out to help each other out like we used to do.
I know I don't have all these good ideas because I don't have James beside me.
Or I don't have Angie beside me, because that's one thing about the conferences we used to. I mean, honestly, I would sit down with Angie and Mike and we would bounce off ideas. This is what they were doing. This is what I was doing. And between us, we end up fairly much on the same page.
Yeah.
Exactly. The financial aid officers will meet live. Oh, be great to everybody be back together again.
I'm hoping that we can maybe do a live conference next year, but this is the next best thing.
Yeah.
This is.
All right, I think that's our time.